It's been a long time since I covered SillyTavern, and with the 2025 release of version 1.12.10, I figured it was time to take a look at it once again. If you don't know already, SillyTavern is a fun way for you to create multiple AI characters to chat with, allowing you to pretend you have friends with you down the pub, but in fact you're just alone at home on your own computer, as always. Sweet. Ideally, you'll have something like a 30 series NVIDIA card with at least 6GB of VRAM in your Linux system, though Microsoft Windows and Mac can also be used if you haven't fully progressed into the world of AI as yet. The installation has changed a little bit since last year, with many features from Silly Extras now being included by default. Silly Extras itself has apparently been discontinued, though more on that later. Currently, they have two main ways to install, either a git clone and then running a start script, or by using the SillyTavern launcher, which, well, appears to be much the same. I went with using the launcher as a normal unobfuscated install isn't actually documented anywhere that I can see. Apparently it's meant to also install a backend for local inference and all these other things, but if we have a quick look at the install file, the last update was 8 months ago. Oh well, it may be different with those Windows BAT files, as they do seem to have some more recent updates. Anyway, for me, trying any option other than just installing SillyTavern using the launcher didn't work, and there are lots of people in the GitHub issues with similar problems, but of course your mileage may vary. Not to worry though, as anything we do need we can just install and run in the usual way, allowing us to escape from launcher hell. For example, I already have Ollama installed because I already have ComfyUI installed as well, and I use those two together. Talking of, yes, we can now use ComfyUI to generate images in SillyTavern too. Right then, on to the basic install using the launcher. As you can see, there are instructions for Windows, Linux and Mac. Being on Linux here, I'm going to copy and paste this first one. There we go, it's copied it, and open my terminal as usual, and I can paste that in. Now that's going to download the SillyTavern launcher and CD into the directory. Okay, with that downloaded, I'll just do a quick list there so you can see the files. The next thing you need to do is make that installer executable. Once again, that's just a case of clicking on the little icon there. We can go back into our terminal, paste that in. That'll make it executable and also run it. There we go. So we're running it now. What would I like to do? As mentioned, only number one actually does anything and works. We would like to install SillyTavern. So press number one, that will go through and install it. Of course, I've already got it installed. Do I want to create a shortcut on the desktop? No, I tried that. That doesn't work. Do you want to start the launcher now? No, I don't, because that doesn't work either. And then you can exit out. Your final command then, which actually starts it, is this one here. So that does much the same thing. Back into our terminal. So that's going to make the launcher executable and then start it. Now we've got a launcher. As with the installer, most of these things don't work. So just start up SillyTavern with option number one. The first time you start up, you'll be prompted to enter your name and then you're in. You can always edit the name once again with the persona management, that little smiley face up the top. So there you go. Your SillyTavern is open, sort of. Now, it is only a front end to a collection of backend APIs, so you're actually going to have some of those to connect to. Ollama is by far the easiest install and once again runs on Mac, Linux and even Microsoft Windows. There you can see on Linux it's just a single command install, which you can also use to update as well. There are loads of models which are frequently changing, so pick something which is best for your system, the one you have at home. Now shown here are all the various sizes, so if you've got something like a 4GB GPU, then maybe this 1.3GB Llama 3.2 will be nice for you. Or perhaps you've got a 231GB GPU, in which case you can use that full Llama 3.1. Generally speaking, the smaller the model, the worse it will be at predicting meaningful tokens. Now, this table only lists a small sample of the most popular options, and if you go over to their model library, you'll see there are lots more. Also, don't forget, if you're going to be running other backends locally, such as ComfyUI, you will need resources for those too, though you could configure Ollama to unload each time, but that makes it quite slow. Anyway, let's start off with their example there, Ollama Run 3.2 to make sure it's working. So we'll copy that back to our terminal, we'll paste that in, and hopefully it should say hello. Now, the first time you do that, it will download the model. It will also get the latest version for you. So I can just say hello in there. There you go. So that is Ollama up and running. We don't need that there though. So once you finish chatting, you can just say bye. Back to your browser then and the SillyTavern page you just launched. Now you want to go and click on this little plug icon, which will probably be red for you, and this is the API connections. So for the text completion API, there we go. We've got an API type of Ollama. There's lots of other ones you can pick, but that's what we just installed. And the API URL is always going to be that one. So you can pretty much just copy and paste it there. 11434 is the port, and you do have to add the V1 onto the end to make it work. Now, if you click connect, there we go, that should connect, and you should get a little green light there, and it will show you all your various Ollama models. As you can see, I've got 3.2 latest, so that quite small one, 1.3 gig, that's the one I've got up and running. Auto connect to last server is a very useful option. I've got that ticked here, and I suggest you do the same. Awesome stuff. Now you've got a tavern with AI chat enabled. And if all you want to do is chat, then that's it. You can go ahead and test with the default character. The character management icon there, like a little sort of card, and you get one by default, which is Seraphina. Let's turn that off. There we go. So now I'm chatting with Seraphina. I'll say a thing down the bottom here. I am dazed and confused about life itself, apart from I can't spell and. Let's see what Seraphina says about that. There it is. It's normal to feel disoriented after a long ordeal. Yes, it is. Ah, such a lovely response. But what if you want more? Well, there is a lot more than I can squeeze into a single video. I mean, look at all these different options, and you've got the chat things over here. There's so many different things, but let's start off with some of what I think are the most fun features. An easy one, of course, is the backgrounds. That's the sort of little mountain icon up there. We've got all sorts of things we can pick from. There we go. I'll go for a cityscape medieval market. All right, that looks awesome. You can, of course, upload your own images as well if you have some of those. Now, you can also use what they call a visual novel mode. Over here in the user settings, there's a little guy there with a cog on his shoulder. I've got it ticked already, but visual novel mode will make it look a little bit like this. Oh, there we go. So now we've got the character that we've selected, and there is the visual model. We've got her in a market. These images can also have different expressions for their reactions as well. So if you go up to extensions, that sort of Qbert looking icon, and then go to character expressions, we can click on that to expand it. Now you've got a classifier API here with all these different options. Extras main API, web LLM extension. You change that to local. That's the one I found seems to work. Obviously, extras is deprecated for most of these things. You've got a default fallback expression, which is joy, and there are a lot of expressions you can choose from. There we go. So, of course, you can upload all of these yourself, but admiration all the way down to surprise. There's a full 28 different expression images there. Now, the changes are very slight on all of these, so you may not be able to see them. Let's have a quick chat, and hopefully they'll show up there. While she will react to what I'm saying, another easy way is to use a slash command. When you type slash, there'll be lots of different options there, and the one we want is emote. Then there's lots of different options, so pick one, I don't know, disgust. There we go. Let's have a look at disgust, and there her expression has changed. If you want to give them voices, then enable the TTS extension. There it is, ticked and enabled. Now there are lots of different options when you select TTS provider. The one I'm going for is Google Translators. That's nice and easy. System, you also don't need to install anything, but for the other options you'll need something like either a paid account for 11 Labs or to install it, such as with Solero. Whichever of the many options you go for, you'll need to assign a voice to each character. Say I pick Google Translate, like in this example, you'll see there are lots of options for voices once you click the Available Voices button. There, absolutely loads of them. So the button is a little bit hidden, certainly in the dark mode. So do be sure to click that to see all the various options. Easy enough then to pick the voice for the person. So Nerdy, I've gone with English, and Serafina using Japanese. For the messages, you should also notice there are a couple of different options here. We've got message actions, so lots of things there. We can use the narrate option in this case to get the text-to-speech to work. But before I do that, I'm going to click edit and make the message a little bit shorter. Now that the message isn't so long, I'll do the narration. You'll see why in just a moment. This is a fairly slow voice, but let's have a quick listen.
Ah, you are awake at last. I was so worried. I found you unconscious and surrounded by Econ brandy bottles.
Interesting. So yes, as you can hear, the Japanese voice is probably more suited to actually speaking Japanese more than English, but it's a good example anyway. And remember, if you ever need any extra help for all of these things, go and have a look over in their documentation. For example, here is the thing about TTS, and it tells you a little bit about each of the services, 11 labs you need to pay for. It's got some stuff about the checkboxes, all sorts of useful information to take a look at. Okay, great. So we can talk to her via text. She can speak back to us with text and a voice. But how about if we want her to send us some images? Well, we can integrate it with ComfyUI for that. Over to extensions once again, and under image generation, you'll see there are absolutely loads of options. If you click on source, you see there's lots there. Black Forest Labs, you've got an API there. Lots of these are APIs, but I'm going to use the ComfyUI one, run everything locally. It's going to give me the ComfyUI URL by default. That should be absolutely fine unless you've changed it. Click connect, and hopefully, as long as you've got ComfyUI up and running, it should say the ComfyUI API has connected. There are two default workflows provided. The first one, default Comfy, is a text to image workflow, which supports the most common image generation settings. It's like the default workflow you get with Comfy. The other one is an image to image workflow that uses the character's avatar plus a prompt in order to generate the image. Default is fine for now then, and the model I'm using here is Real Cartoon XL V6. That's an SDXL model, so of course I'm using an SDXL VAE. Got all the other common settings in there, like sampling method, so that'll have everything that you've got installed, all the schedulers, pick whatever resolution you want, sampling steps, all those various different options there. For the tick boxes at the top, I've also selected Use Function Tool and Use Interactive Mode, so I can ask her to send me pictures. You can hover over each of those to get a little pop-up as well. All right, so I can see she's got a lot of images ready to send me. Let's ask for one. Here then, I'm asking her for a picture of a rodent. I need help. Send me a picture of a rodent. And there we go, she's sent me, well, it's a picture of two rodents, but never mind. Now, while we're here, don't forget to check out both the Burger and Magic Wand menus. In the Burger menu, you've got all sorts of useful things like start new chat, close this one, delete messages, regenerate, all that sort of thing. And in the Magic Wand menu, we've got Open Data Bank, all these, there's lots of options in there, but the one we want really here is Generate Image. If we click on that, we'll get some prompts. So, show me a picture of yourself, and hopefully now she will generate an image of what she thinks she looks like, which will then be generated by SDXL. There we go. That's the interpretation of the prompt, which is, that's a very long one indeed. You can see that by hovering over, but she's got the pink hair. I guess it's fairly similar to the image. Lots of forest and roses. So yeah, all right, not bad. Back over in the extensions, if you want to have a look at those, the image prompt templates, there we can see you've got character yourself, user me, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to edit those prompt templates, you can do in there. All very good so far, but maybe you want to send pictures as well. In that case, it really helps to have a vision LLM. So back in the connection profile here, you see this case I'm using Llama 3.2 Vision. So this is a multimodal model. If we go back over into this bit, we've got image captioning. We can open that up. There's a source, you can select multimodal. There's also local extras and Horde. API Ollama, because that's the one we're using. That's what we've got installed. And the model is the currently selected one. Great. Okay, so I can send her an image. We go back down to that magic wand. We can attach a file and then pick an image. That's now appeared as an attachment. I can also ask a little question. Who is this? And let's send that message through, find out what happens. There we can see it's sent the image, and if I hover over it, you'll also get the text that it generated using the large language model to identify what was going on. Let's see, in there it says this is an image that depicts a cartoon-style anthropomorphic mouse characterized by its large ears and expressive eyes. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. And her reply is this: oh, you want to see a rodent, do you? Well, I suppose I can arrange that and all sorts of other stuff. Are there any more things? Yes, of course there are. If we go back into the extensions, now if you go to download extensions and assets, you'll have another little plug icon to click on there. Click load asset list and then yes please, that will load the asset list. And as you can see, as I scroll down slowly, there are absolutely loads and loads of different things you can install. So maybe you want the D&D dice. All right, that's fine. Click on that. That's installed. If you want more information about it, then you can click on that extra icon at the end. It will take you straight over to the GitHub repo. Just to pick out a few of the more interesting things, you've got weather, blip, a chat bar, chess, D&D dice, ambient audio, live 2D, mermaid diagrams, screen share, speech recognition, VRM, and a couple more. So click install on whatever you fancy, and don't forget to click the other little icon to see that more information bit. Now I'm just going to have a look at the live 2D, VRM, and speech recognition. For Live 2D, you're going to need some special files. I know nothing about Live 2D, so I just downloaded this model to test with for free. As it says down here somewhere, I'm allowed to use it. Both personal and commercial use are allowed, okay? It's something I can test with. You'll probably have your own Live 2D model if you know all about them. So what you're going to need to do is get that model and put it into a special place. That special place is your SillyTavern directory, data, default users, assets, Live 2D. Remember, you can check over in the documentation to get the path as well. So there, I've downloaded it. That's the Toki character. It's got some textures and these JSON files, mock and a CM03. So those are the files in this example. Back in the Live 2D extension now, you'll see I've got this enabled. There's following cursor, auto send interaction, all these different tick boxes you can have a look at. Now, you will have to pick one model for each character, of course. So there's character. I've only got Seraphina in this case, and there we are. Okay, so she's got the model. There's the model. I've only got one model again there, and that's what it looks like. Well, there's lots more settings. This is a very basic model, but as you can see, there's all sorts of things going on there. If it had expressions and motions, you could map them in there, but this is just a sample one. Let's close that down. So there's the Live 2D model. You can move it around as well. Always the cursor. So yeah, that's one way to get animated avatars into SillyTavern. It's much the same if you want to use VRM instead, and while this next free sample I'm testing here is just a model without any motions, you can have motions. So this is one that says I can use it for personal and corporate use. Just a little test. Back over to the SillyTavern then, and in your VRM you can click enabled on that, and there's lots of other tick boxes there. Look at camera, blink, TTS, lip sync, all these lovely options. Now the first thing you're going to need to do, of course, is select a character. I'm going to use Seraphina, and then the VRM model appears because we've got it saved in our directory, much like we did with the 2D model. Only for the VRM files, that's going to go into assets VRM. Now there won't be any directories in there when you first go in, so you'll have to create animation. As mentioned, I haven't got any animations, but there is the VRM in the models directory. Once again, if you actually had any of the expression mappings, you could select them in there. So let's pop that down so we can see our VRM. There he is. That's not bad. Oh, yeah, bouncing cheeks. Very nice. Hey, we're almost there with the basics of characters in your tavern. All sorts of options for backgrounds, models, expressions, voices. Oh, voices. I've got a voice, haven't I? So can I use it to talk to them? Yes, of course I can. Now it's time for this speech recognition extension. Now be warned, even if you can get Whisper Local or Browser to work, good luck if you're using Firefox, then it doesn't use the GPU, so it's really, really slow. Now the one you're going to want to use is Whisper Extras. But nerdy, I thought you said they'd stop working on extras. Well, they have, apart from if you want to do speech recognition, in which case you will want to install extras. Installation is much like in my previous video, only this time we've got some extra requirements to install for the faster Whisper. The first thing to do, of course, is to git clone the repo and get the silly extras down. Once downloaded, you can change directory, and of course you want to create a new Anaconda environment for this. Once again, you can copy and paste their commands, conda create -- name. I've called mine silly extras using Python 3.11. Once created, don't forget to activate it, and then pip install -r the requirements.txt file as normal. Now the extra thing you're going to need, of course, for the faster whisper is the faster whisper requirements too. So once again, pip install -r requirements faster whisper.txt. Of course, I've got them all installed, so it goes through instantly. Now you can start up your extras API server, but you might notice there in the modules, they don't actually have one for the speech to text. Okay, don't worry, because here's the command you need to actually start it with the Whisper speech to text module enabled. There we go then. So we're doing python server.py as normal, and we also want the use faster whisper option, CUDA, and the module they've missed off the documentation there is actually called whisper-stt. So enable modules equals whisper-stt. Once you fire that up, you should see it's using torch device CUDA 0 and all this other stuff, and the most important thing, running on localhost 5100. Back in your SillyTavern at the bottom, you should see this extras API. Once again, localhost 5100. So click connect on that, and it should say connected to API. You'll also want to tick the auto connect option as well. And remember to start your Silly Extras either before or after you start your SillyTavern. Now in the select speech to text provider, you can select Whisper Extras, speech language automatic, absolutely fine. If you want to set a recording hotkey, then you can. There's an option there also to enable activation by voice. Message mode, you've got, I like auto send there, but you could append or replace as well. Okay, so let's give that a go then. I've got speech recognition enabled. Let's close that down. And oh, it looks like the microphone is on. So why isn't that working? What's going on? Is it broken? No, it's because we're living in backwards world. That actually means the microphone is muted. And once I press my hotkey, then the microphone is unmuted. I press the hotkey again to send it. So yes, for whatever reason, the icon is backwards. So that is muted. And when it has the bar through it, it is unmuted. Makes sense, eh? Anyway, it's now ever so much faster than all of the other options. So that is highly recommended if you want to do speech to text. As you've reached this far, you're evidently a proper nerd, so let's take a look at just one more feature, the data bank. Now, you'll be familiar with RAG because you've already watched all of my videos, and thus will know it's a great way to add certain things to the knowledge of your character, or indeed globally. So back to that magic wand, open data bank, because we've got a character selected, it's that one. So you can see there we've got global attachments, character, or chat attachments. You can add various file types such as a file, a notepad, web, or even a YouTube transcription. Now, the easiest one, of course, is upload a file from your computer. And the one I'm going to upload is this one here called Rodent Facts. As you can see, it's got my age, my name, things like that, and some random facts about me, such as my favorite color is Smurf blue, a nice, completely made up color, so we can tell whether or not this has been picked up in our chat. You can also just drag the file into the window. So let's drag that text file in, and here it will say, where do you want to save it? Global, character, or chat. Okay, global is fine with me. Upload. And now we've got our rodent facts. Okay, we'll close, we'll have a chat, and we'll say, what's my favorite color? Tell me, because I must know what indeed is my favorite color, ? You can answer quickly and succinctly without lots and lots of extra stuff. And here we can see she replied with a slight smile. Ah, your favorite color, you say? Well, I suppose I can answer quickly enough. It's Smurf blue, isn't it? And there we have many of the basics. All we need to do then is create loads and loads of different characters. You can set up a group chat as well. And then you can have lots and lots of different things all going on at once. Characters speaking between each other. And yeah, just absolutely boatloads of fun. Time to fill up your tavern with rodents, I think.
Ooh, nerdy rodent. He really makes my day, showing us AI in a really British way.